right, welcome in, everyone. We are diving deep today into a truly bizarre case. The disappearance and reappearance of Samuel Terrence. 10 years, gone, poof, vanish.
And then he comes back.
Right, like,
With these
why?
crazy stories about what happened, it's like, is this guy for real?
Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
Exactly. We've got his journals, some reports, got to piece it all together.
Yeah, so Samuel Terrence disappears in 2014 during a citywide blackout, right? 4 days of darkness, officially anyway. And then 10 years later, he just shows up.
Out of the blue.
Like, how does that even happen?
And the thing is, he remembers stuff.
Oh, yeah. Fragmented memories, these weird visions.
Which is where his journals come in.
Right. He kept detailed notes during the blackout. And combined with the memories that are resurfacing now, it's like, I don't know, have you ever read anything like this?
Honestly, nothing quite like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got alien abductions, government conspiracies, interdimensional travel, all rolled into one.
Let's start with the blackout itself. August 2014. The official reports mention increased crime rates, things like those weird connected kidnappings. But there's a lot more to it when you dig deeper.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The reports of burglaries happening at, like, impossible speeds, almost like the burglars were teleporting or something.
And those unmarked vehicles, remember, blocking the roads up into the hills?
Right, and then the smoke rising behind them. Nobody knew what was going on up there.
It's like there's this whole other layer to the blackout, something they're not telling us.
Absolutely. Makes you wonder what they're hiding.
So let's get into Samuel's journal, this first days of the blackout. He describes this eerie silence, like all the animals just gone. And this windstorm, this constant, unnatural wind.
He wasn't alone, though, right? His friend Lore, they were communicating through walkie-talkies, both experiencing the same freaky stuff.
Which is important, right? It suggests that this wasn't just some personal delusion.
Yeah, if two people are seeing the same weird occurrences, that points to something real happening, something objective.
And then they both start encountering these rectangular objects. Just being near them made them sick.
These prisms, or whatever they are. Definitely a recurring element in Samuel's story. But why? What are they?
Yeah, the purpose of these prisms, that's a big mystery we're trying to solve.
Some sort of advanced tech? A device for manipulating, I don't know, matter? Maybe consciousness?
Yeah.
Or is it something we haven't even thought of yet?
Well, that's the thing with this case. So much of it is beyond our current understanding. And unfortunately, Laura's still missing.
Gone without a trace.
Another mystery layered on top of everything else.
It makes you wonder, was he taken? Did he, stumble into something dangerous?
Are these prisms somehow connected to his disappearance?
It's a question that hangs over this entire case.
Yeah, for sure. Now, before we get too far into Samuel's story, you flagged something in your research that seemed unconnected at first but might be relevant. This sighting from 1971.
Oh yeah, J.E. Wilson and his family. Their encounter with something.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds a lot like those prisms Samuel described.
Decades before the blackout, right?
Yeah, it's like, is this a pattern? Is there some connection between what happened to Samuel and what the Wilsons saw back in 71?
Let's paint a picture for our listeners, okay? Easter Sunday, the Wilson family is setting up an Easter egg hunt. Two of their kids spot this thing near the tree line. A dark rectangular prism with, get this, 2 red eyes.
This thing floats right towards Mr. Wilson.
Just a few feet off the ground. Can you imagine seeing that?
I mean, the details of this sighting are so vivid, it's hard not to think of Samuel's descriptions. The shape, those red lights, the way it moved so effortlessly, it's all very similar.
And after the sighting, the Wilsons just vanished, moved out of town, no explanation.
Yeah, just backed up and left. And even weirder, the online forum where Mr. Wilson shared his story, poof, gone. Deleted.
Like someone was trying to cover it up. Makes you think, right?
But what could be so threatening about this sighting that they felt the need to erase it?
Exactly. What don't they want us to know? So let's jump back to Samuel, 10 years after the blackout. He's found on the outskirts of town, comatose, but alive.
Alive after a decade. That's pretty remarkable in itself.
And when he wakes up, he can talk, he can move. After 10 years, that's unheard of.
It's like whatever happened to him, it didn't just shut his brain down, it changed it, maybe even preserved it somehow.
Right. And then there are these physical anomalies. Burn trauma all over his body, heart murmurs, and this strange scar on his wrist with a small object embedded under it.
It's like some kind of messed up surgery or experiment.
Yeah, those physical changes, they point to some kind of interaction with advanced technology.
Or maybe something even more bizarre. It's like he was ripped out of our reality, something was done to him, And then he was put back, changed.
And with those missing pieces, those fragmented memories.
That's what we're going to try to unpack now.
Right. His visions, these strange encounters, and ultimately his confrontation with a figure that may hold the key to all of this.
All right, so one of Samuel's first recovered memories is waking up on this cold table, dim lights, surrounded by these shadowy figures, long, spindly fingers.
Creepy, right?
Oh, yeah, and they show him his dad's old Walkman.
Yeah.
Random.
Super random. And then they play the song Only the Good Die Young.
Why? What's the significance of that? Was it some kind of test? A cryptic message, maybe?
It's unsettling, to say the least. Then Samuel finds himself in this massive facility. Sterile rooms, bland hallways.
Like a hospital, but off.
Yeah, and at one point he stumbles upon a storage room. Inside, a deactivated rectangular prism, just like the ones from the blackout.
So these prisms are definitely part of some larger operation, not just random occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this one was deactivated, though, what does that mean?
Maybe a change in plans? A temporary shutdown?
We don't know, but it raises a lot of questions.
Who's controlling these things? What are their motives? Now get ready, because Samuel's story takes a really wild turn. We're talking disorienting visions, fragmented memories, glimpses into some truly bizarre realities.
Hold on to your hats, folks. This is where things get strange.
In one vision, he sees 4 figures, sledgehammers, destroying his dad's Walkman.
The Walkman again.
Right. And one of the figures, teardrop-shaped head, huge eyes, it steps toward him, utters the word blasphemy.
Blasphemy. That adds a whole other dimension to this. Like, are these beings driven by some sort of religious zeal? Or is it something else entirely?
Yeah, and then this other vision, he's in a park at night being stalked by this thing. White fur, glowing orange eyes.
Talk about nightmare fuel.
It's like a primal fear being tapped into, the fear of being hunted by something unknown.
Right. And then there's that vision with the surgeon.
Oh yeah, the surgeon, sunglasses, a mask, tormenting Samuel with this vibrating object that sticks to his fingers, laughing like a maniac.
Pure sadism. It's like they enjoy making him suffer.
But then there's a shift. He has this vision of a friendly presence interacting with him from under a locked door.
Wait, so not all of these beings are hostile?
Seems that way. A hand slides the slip of paper under the door, but the writing keeps changing every time Samuel tries to read it.
Maybe it's a message, but they can only communicate in this cryptic way.
A glimmer of hope in this dark, isolated place.
Makes you wonder, are there factions among these beings?
Maybe some want to harm him and others want to help him.
That would certainly explain some of the contradictions we're seeing.
Okay, and then this next vision is like a medical procedure. Patterns of light, this huge machine pressed against his face.
It sounds like they were trying to probe his mind,
Mm.
Maybe implant something.
Right, manipulating his memories, altering his perceptions. It's like they're trying to control him.
It's chilling. So we've got these visions. Destruction, fear, torment, connection, and then this attempt to control his mind. What does it all mean?
That's what we'll try to uncover as we go deeper into Samuel's story.
Because trust me, it gets even wilder from here.
Oh.
All right, so we left off with those visions, right? Glimpses into this other reality, this whatever it is. But now, things get a little clearer, a little more grounded. Samuel remembers something that ties everything to our world in a big way.
This is where it gets really interesting, right? The conspiracy element starts to creep in.
Big time. Samuel finds himself in a hallway, kind of dimly lit, and he sees 2 figures talking. One is in a suit, round glasses, official looking.
Okay, so far pretty normal, right?
The other figure, though, this short, being big eyes, long, pale fingers, definitely not your average Joe.
Yeah, okay. That's where things start to get weird.
And there's this strange vibe in the air. Samuel feels this sense of dread, like something bad is about to happen.
He gets closer, and he recognizes the man in the suit.
Dick Cheney, former Vice President Dick Cheney.
No way, really?
Yeah. And as soon as Samuel sees Cheney, he's overwhelmed by this intense hatred for him.
Whoa, like out of nowhere.
Like a wave washing over him. He feels this pure, raw anger. And he knows it's not his own anger, it's coming from somewhere else.
Okay, that is creepy.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's psychically linked to Cheney in that moment, experiencing his emotions.
Whoa, are you saying these beings can manipulate human emotions?
Maybe. It's a possibility we have to consider.
So what's Cheney doing? Is he talking to this short being?
Yeah. He seems oblivious to Samuel at first, just carrying on a conversation. But what he's saying is really unsettling.
What's he saying?
He's talking about them, complaining that they are floating around remembering things.
Who is they? Is he talking about Samuel?
Sounds like it. It's almost like Cheney's worried that these people, whoever they are going to retain memories of what happened to them.
So he's acknowledging that something happened, something that needs to be kept secret.
Exactly. And he seems pretty concerned about it.
Okay, we've got Cheney. We've got strange beings. We've got this sense of a conspiracy to cover something up. This is getting intense.
It gets more intense. Samuel's presence becomes known. The short being, it turns its gaze on him, like it's evaluating him.
Oh, man. I bet Samuel was freaking out at this point.
And then Cheney, he looks right at Samuel and says, "This is what I'm talking about. We can't have them floating around like this."
They will hear and remember. That's what he said, right?
Right. Almost a threat, you know?
Yeah.
Like Samuel's a problem that needs to be dealt with.
A problem because he might remember. Remember what? That's the question.
Right. And at that moment, Samuel becomes convinced that Cheney is behind everything that's happened to him.
Whoa. So not just involved, but the mastermind.
That's what Samuel believes.
Yeah.
And the intensity of that conviction, it makes you wonder.
It's not just a random thought. It's like he knows it to be true.
And that raises so many questions. What would Cheney's motivation be? What does he stand to gain from this?
Is this about power, control, access to some kind of alien tech?
We're in deep conspiracy territory here, and it's hard to know what to believe.
So what happens next?
Things get a little blurry. Samuel remembers being surrounded by figures in surgical masks, feeling pressure on his forehead, like something's being implanted. Cheney's there, watching, with this look of satisfaction on his face.
Okay, so they're not just monitoring him, they're messing with his head.
Yeah, it's the implication.
And I bet this is where those missing memories come from.
Probably. They could be blocking certain memories, implanting false ones, who knows? It's classic mind control stuff.
Super disturbing.
Right. But just as they're doing this procedure, Samuel manages to, I don't know, zone out. He calls it lulling off.
Like a defense mechanism, maybe. His mind protecting itself from the intrusion.
Could be.
So he escapes the procedure, escapes Cheney. What then?
He wakes up in a small, dark room alone. But something's different. He feels better, healthier. His skin is clear. He's older, wearing a hospital gown.
Wait, they healed him?
Seems like it. They can inflict pain, manipulate memories, and they can also heal. They've got some pretty advanced capabilities.
That's a terrifying thought.
It is.
So Samuel's alone, he's healed. What happens next?
He starts to take stock of his surroundings, and that's when he sees it. A sliding cover on the door opens, and these two huge, dark eyes are staring at him.
Oh, no. One of those surgeon guys.
No, it's something different. This teardrop-headed being, just like the one from the Walkman vision.
Oh, man. Not another one of those.
But this one's different. His name is Jerry. And he's not there to hurt Samuel. He's there to help.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he reassures Samuel, tells him he's got his things. He even brought him some fresh clothes.
So not all these teardrop-headed things are bad.
Looks like it. Jerry's appearance is the same, but his actions, his whole demeanor, is different. He's genuinely trying to help.
So is this like an internal conflict, factions among these beings?
That's what it's starting to look like. Some want to harm Samuel, others want to protect him.
Okay, but why? Why help him at all?
Well, as they're walking, Samuel tries to figure out what Jerry is.
A ghost. An angel. Another human.
He asks all those questions, but Jerry just says, not in the way you think of it.
So cryptic.
He's not giving any straight answers, but he does give Samuel a warning.
Oh, what kind of warning?
He says, they're going to want to silence you. The information you have in your laptop is valuable. Guard it with your life.
His laptop. What's on his laptop that's so important?
That's the big question. But Jerry seems to be implying that Samuel has witnessed something dangerous.
And that the information on his laptop is the key to exposing it.
Something like that. He also tells Samuel, you'll piece it all together when it's time.
Okay, that is super cryptic.
Very cryptic. But he's basically telling Samuel to trust his instincts, that the answers are there, he just has to find them.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. What happens next?
Jerry leads Samuel up this staircase, and it's like this staircase just materializes out of thin air.
Whoa, are they teleporting?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then Samuel wakes up.
Back in the hospital.
Back in the hospital, back in our reality.
Yeah.
But he has amnesia. No memories of the last 10 years.
So it's like he's back, but not really back?
Right. Like a part of him is still trapped in that other place. And there's one more detail.
What's that?
When Samuel gets his laptop back, there's this small envelope taped to it.
Okay, and what's in the envelope?
A note. It says, sorry for the Walkman.
Sorry for the Walkman. Seriously.
Yeah, and a slip of paper with this crude drawing on it, and the word space books written in crayon.
Space bucks.
Mm.
What in the world is space
That's,
bus?
my friend, is the million-dollar question.
All right, we are back. Final part of our deep dive into the Samuel Terrence case. We've covered a lot of ground here. Missing time, those weird teardrop-headed beings, a possible conspiracy involving a former vice president, a cryptic note about space bucks. It's a lot to process.
It really is. Samuel's story, it makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about reality. The nature of consciousness, the limits of what we can perceive, it's all up for grabs.
Yeah, I think that's what's so fascinating about this case. It forces you to ask those big questions like, what is real? Who can we trust? And what else is out there that we just don't know about?
Exactly. And the fact that we're dealing with, fragmented memories, cryptic clues, this overall sense of ambiguity, it just adds to the mystery.
Like we're trying to put together a puzzle, but we're missing half the pieces.
That's a great analogy.
So let's try to make sense of the pieces we do have. Let's start with the most obvious question. Who are those teardrop-headed beings? I mean, are we talking aliens? Interdimensional travelers? Something else entirely?
Right. What are they? Your notes don't exactly give us a clear answer. Their technology, their ability to manipulate matter and consciousness, and their interest in humans, it all points to something not from around here, you know?
Yeah, but are we talking another planet, another dimension? Or something even weirder that we can't even comprehend?
It's tough to say. I mean, think of our reality like a sheet of paper, right? Other dimensions could be like stacks of paper on top of each other. Maybe these beings can punch through that paper, travel between realities.
That's trippy.
Totally. But it's just one theory. We got to stay open to other possibilities, too. We're dealing with the unknown here.
Okay, so we may not know exactly what they are, but their actions, they're definitely intelligent, they're intentional. And what about those rectangular prisms? What's their purpose in all of this?
Right. The prisms, they keep hopping up. During the blackout in that facility, they seem to be connected to some of the weird stuff that happened to Samuel.
Maybe there's some kind of tool, right, for control or transportation, communication, maybe all of the above.
Possibly.
Yeah.
They could be the key to understanding what's really going on here.
Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Dick Cheney. I mean, is it really possible that a former vice president is involved in some huge conspiracy with these beings?
It's a wild theory, I'll give you that. And we have to remember we're working with Samuel's memories,
Yeah.
which could be unreliable. It's possible that his perception of Cheney is a result of manipulation, implanted thoughts or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they messed with his head so much that he's remembering things wrong. But if we assume that Samuel is remembering things accurately, what would Cheney's motivation be? Why get involved with these beings at all?
Right. What's in it for him? Is it power, control, access to alien technology?
Or maybe it's something even darker that we haven't even considered.
Exactly. It's like looking into an abyss. You never know what you're going to find.
Okay, let's move on to something that's been bugging me since we first heard about it. Space books. What do you make of that note, that weird drawing they left on Samuel's laptop?
It's definitely strange. I mean, the note apologizing for the Walkman, that's a weird detail. It's like they're trying to downplay the seriousness of what they did.
Right. Sorry we abducted you and messed with your mind, but hey, at least we didn't break your Walkman.
Yeah, exactly. But then you got space bucks, which is just bizarre. What does it even mean?
Is it like some intergalactic currency? A secret code word? A clue to a bigger mystery? I mean, come on, it's written in Quran.
I know, it's so strange. It's like they wanted to leave a message, but they wanted to make it as cryptic as possible.
It's frustrating. But hey, that's the Samuel Terrence case for you. Full of unanswered questions. We also can't forget about Lore. What do you think happened to him? Is there any chance he's still out there somewhere?
It's hard to say. Samuel's memories don't offer any clues. But yeah, the possibility that Lore is still trapped somewhere, whether it is in that other reality or somewhere else, it's a tough thought.
It's a reminder that even with all this weirdness, all this sci-fi stuff, there are real people involved, people whose lives have been turned upside down by whatever happened during that blackout.
Absolutely.
So after going through all of this, what can we take away from Samuel's experience? What does it all mean for us?
I think it's a wake-up call. A reminder that reality is not as straightforward as we like to think it is. There might be things out there, forces at work, that we're just not equipped to understand.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, but it's also kind of exciting, don't you think? Knowing that there's so much more to the universe than we can see or even imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely humbling.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important thing is to keep an open mind. Question everything. Don't just accept the official narrative, because as we've seen in Samuel's case, there's often more to the story than meets the eye.
And who knows, maybe somewhere out there, someone is listening to this right now, someone who has their own piece of this puzzle.
And if you're out there, reach out. Share your story. You might hold the key to unlocking this whole thing.
That's a great point. We're all in this together, right?
Hmm.
So, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this wild ride. We hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did. And remember, stay curious, stay skeptical, and never stop searching for the truth. Until next time, take care.